guys. Welcome to another episode of Your Way with No Way. Joining me for my very second episode, I'm very excited to have underground music sensation After Party. How are you guys doing?
They were great. How about you, Noe?
I'm pretty good. Um, I hear that you guys are killing it in the underground scene and looking to move up pretty soon. So I'm sort of excited to catch you guys before you guys fly to up, and then my little podcast can't catch you. Uh,
We'll
so
always make time for you. We have time for you.
thanks. So after party is a duo. And finding someone to vibe with to create a whole entire music project can be kind of hard to find nowadays. So can you guys tell me how you guys were able to, find each other and vibe together to, create After Party?
Yeah, so really, depending on who you ask, you're going to get a different version of the same story. It's basically the same story, but it started back in April, uh, possibly a little bit earlier, when I remember one night, me, Alexander, and a few other friends, we were just happened to be out and
It was COVID.
pre-COVID. So
This had to be before April.
yeah, by March. No, it was
Nah, man. This time was way before that. That's what I'm
True,
saying.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
like last fall.
yeah.
So it was last fall, man. He can't even get his story straight.
Shoot.
It was one of those nights. Have you ever had a friend and y'all each have the story the same night, but y'all were both pretty messed up and you each tell it completely differently?
Yeah.
Well, I was more sober, so I tell it right, but
Guess we'll tell Alexander's version of the story.
Yeah, we'll start. I'll let him jump in when he wants. But it was one of those boys' nights, random, and we wanted to go get some awesome food. And Jason had spotted this one place. Where did you find it from?
I just found it some time ago.
Bomb ass
And,
food.
yeah.
Bomb ass food. Pollos asados. So we went over there with a couple of our boys and ate this big ass plate. It was like a la parrilla.
It's like parrillada, man. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
had
Okay.
the fajita, the chicken. It was
Bomb, bro. It was one of the best meals. Like, if you have to have a last meal before you die, you want to try that for the first time. Save that for your first meal
Yes.
because it's delicious. And then we decided to go out drinking a little bit. And this is pre-COVID, obviously. So we had party hopped a little bit. I knew a bartender over at Still Golden downtown, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. So we feel fancy drinking craft beer. I think you had a bourbon, right?
I got a few that his friend hooked me up. So
Yeah.
props to him.
That's my boy. When they open back up, go see Brett. Tell him Alexander sent you. That's my boy. But to continue, we then jumped over to another place, had there, and we ended up back at my apartment, and my deck's out on like in the living room because that's where I like to practice. And he sees it. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was like telling me, he was like, "Oh yeah, like I think I've mixed a little bit before." And he told me about his older brother who's a producer. So me, anytime anyone talks about music, I light up. And I was a previous music major, so it's my passion, like diehard passion, obsessive. Yeah, but you can tell me more about how that came up.
So I mean, I noticed it, and I noticed the controller, and I immediately just like had a flashback to when I was, much younger, and my brother had always produced music, and he'd like mix, and he'd be in and out of town, and I always knew he's off producing music, doing that. And I remember one summer he left a controller at the house, and he's like, Jason, do whatever you want with it. You have all the programs, just like figure it out, have fun. And it was for during the course of like that summer, I messed around with, I tried to learn how to use it, just the way I saw, DJs and people perform using it. And, after that summer and he took it back, I never really got back into it, but I remember us having so much fun. So, fast forward to when I see it and I'm like, hey, it's like that looks. I think I know how to use one of those things, and Alexander's all right, man.
You're feeling confident, feeling great. And I was like, and me, I mean, I have known Jason for a long time, but we hadn't grown close. We hadn't really connected on like something deeper. It was like, man, that guy's cool. Like, I always have fun with him. Every time we go out, it's fun. Like, I like him having around. So then when he's like, I was like, okay. And like I said, I was a little not as far deep. So I was like, okay, let's see. But at the same time, I have these speakers in my kitchen above the cabinets. They're like big square speakers, and they're connected to the Wi-Fi. And we were like playing music, kicking back to that. So he kept trying to be like, no, put this. And he has a program on his phone for DJing, and that's what he was showing me. And there's a video. I got video evidence, so don't even try. And I'm like playing guitar, messing around while the speakers are going, and I look at him, and I have no idea what he's saying. Absolutely no idea. And I look to my right, and I just hit our friend Steven with a what? The meme, bro. And I don't remember anything after that.
That whole time I was just like, I was convinced that those speakers, they were Bluetooth, not Wi-Fi. So I was like, why can't you connect the speakers to my phone? And that was all, drunk people just get upset over like the smallest things, and I was like, no, why can't it? Alexander's here just looking at me like, what is this guy doing?
I don't know, man.
But
so the next time I saw him, we had talked about it, and I was like, were you being for real? And he's like, yeah. I was like, all right, come through. He's like, I don't really like know how to use the software 100%, but if you kind of jog my memory and tell me what's what. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So I started mixing. I bring up a couple, and mind you, he didn't bring no songs. He didn't bring any of his own library. I really didn't even know what Jason listened to at the time. I didn't know he was hardcore into EDM, which is super awesome. Like, this guy knows EDM history way more than anyone I've ever met. So when he was talking about it, I was like, okay, he's legit. And we're mixing, and he comes into my library, like, just picks out a couple songs, and they start flowing together. He like listens, and he's like, okay. And I was like, okay, let's go. So we jammed that night, and it was a wrap, man. It was a wrap. We jammed, I don't know, 6 months or something before we started thinking about doing something.
It is very sporadic. It was just something that's like, hey, it's like, we know we like it, and occasionally I come over, and we each had it's his controller, so I come over and we both messed around on it, and that was the most. I was like, at the very most, that's all we did. And
like After Party legit started from an after party.
Yeah, pretty much. And actually, you're the first one that's mentioned that, so that's kind of funny. But really, it was like, what, 2 weeks ago? I was like, bro, we should just start a duo.
Yeah.
And then the name After Party popped into my head because we're always like late at night mixing after like parties. So, and also like it's been COVID, so we haven't really hung out or like actually had any parties. So it's like after the party, when everyone's gone, it's dead silent, but you start playing and like, hey, you're still bopping by yourself, So I don't know. I thought it was a cool name. It's a very versatile. So we'll see where the brand goes. We're excited about it.
Yeah.
So when it comes to complementing styles and all that, how are you guys able to put like maybe, I guess, a word or two to like, I know a lot of people say it's difficult to describe your sound when you're an artist, but can you guys maybe figure out a word or two that describes your note sound?
I got one that first comes to mind, but I'll let you. You have one in mind?
No, go ahead.
Because I don't want to influence your word. I want to hear.
No, I'm trying to hear what you're thinking.
The first word that came to mind for me was versatile.
Yeah,
like just versatile. We can drop stuff in any BPM, and between us, pretty much any genre. That's what I would say. Versatile.
Yeah, and I mean, I literally just thought about this, but I mean, if you think about it, it's almost. Our chemistry is almost like yin and yang, basically, because while we both have different styles, in a way, we found that the more we work together, we just found that our styles just seem to complement each other. They just seem to work. We each have our own taste in music, and we always bring different music together. It's like, hey, this is music I like. He brings music he likes, and it just happens, where the magic happens. That's why I think the beauty of it all is. and it's really just a vibe in general.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it. It's a vibe.
You know, it's funny because I've always been confused when you guys have your style and it's this vibe. Well, this is more of a general question. When it comes to artists, what is y'all's opinion? You know, an artist develops a sound and people are used to that sound. But then some people, one half, I guess, would say, well, I get tired again because it's the same thing over and over. But then that artist tries to develop a new sound. And then you have this other half that's like, I don't know, I don't like what happened to his music, so I don't listen to that
Oh,
anymore.
well, I can speak to that immediately. I mean, I've been listening to electronic music as long as I can remember, to be honest. So there's a lot of artists I grew up listening to, and you think of big names like Tiesto, for example. If you listen to EDM, you probably know who Tiesto is, but if you started listening to him in the last couple years, you think he's like huge festival EDM, pretty just EDM in general. But like the Tiesto, my brother showed me when I was younger was like trance, super European, completely different style. And watching him, transition and explore different genres. For trance fans, I know they just were off of the ship. But I think as an artist, I think it's great to explore new sounds and try out different things because I mean, I don't enjoy just one genre of music. I enjoy a lot, and I would feel trapped if production wise I just stuck to the same thing for forever. So I don't know what you think. If any artists you've
I agree. I think it's really hard to develop a sound and hit, to be a taste maker is kind of the core of a DJ, to be honest. You want everyone to be like, damn, what's that on that ox? So when someone tries something out or experiments, it's kind of discouraging for people to react that way. But it goes back and forth too, because sometimes it's controversial. Like there's artists, even mainstream ones too, who like will do a rock album or something, and diehard fans may just hate it. But there's some diehard fans who are like, hey, like it really worked for him. Like it depends on how good it is too, the quality and how you approach it. So I appreciate both sides. I really think it takes a lot of time to develop a sound though. So either way.
and I and honestly to add on to sort of go back to that one part is having a signature sound. I think that's just the best thing you can have as an artist.
Hmm.
I when I listen to artists I've been listening to for a long time, I always smile when I hear, you know, a certain song of theirs, and there's something about it that just reminds me of, you know, songs in the past that I really enjoyed from them, and I'm like, hey, that's their sound. That's one thing that's really close to me.
Yeah, and it's huge in the music industry too. Like good taste influences good taste. And if you have good taste and you can break out with a certain sound, then that's awesome. It would be a big goal of mine to be like, hey man, that's after parties like synth, or that's after parties like, drop, or whatever signature sound if we could. Cause I mean, I do produce, but we haven't had as much time to put into that yet. So we've been mostly mixing, but that would be a goal of mine. That would
Yeah.
be like god tier.
And so you guys talked about influence in your sound and in your inspirations. So what are those artists that inspire you guys? You know, I know there's probably a bunch. You guys seem very cultured in music. You know, the thing that your top five, I guess, that influence your sound.
Oof. All right, you have to give us a second to think.
No worries. Like it's
Um,
something that's like not just DJs in general, but I'm pretty sure you guys were influenced by a range of artists that you guys
oh yeah.
know about.
So I know two right off the top of my head, like for sure, because I've been trying to develop a sound already, so I know kind of who has a little bit of the sound that I want. And two of the biggest artists that people would recognize for me to say would be The Weeknd and Illenium. Like I know they're completely different, but what they do is amazing, and and each of them has a beautiful way, you know. So those are two of mine. I'll try to think of a couple more.
Um, I know for me, I've always enjoyed uh, like house music, trance music, and I'd say one group that has always just stuck around with me is Swedish House Mafia. And um, just for me, their sound was so unique. And I remember when they were newer to the music scene, it's like I was just little, but just watching them on YouTube and listening to their sound, it was unlike anything I heard. It was unlike any other music I heard. They were ahead of their time, you know, but it was music that really had that. 'Cause for me, I like music that you can really dance to, you know, that you can really nod your head to. I really like that, and um, that's why for me is a plethora of artists that they really feel that niche just in different ways, and that's what I love about music is that he likes Weekend, Millennium. We like artists from all ranges of the spectrum, but I think there's in general something you can always find that you like about different artists.
Yeah, another huge one for me too is Valentino Khan. Like Khan is like the bass god for me. Just the way he drops and it keeps hitting really hard. As a producer, like I really appreciate how he can get such a clean bass hit so hard without clipping or like it's incredible to me. It's hard to be able to compress and like make that sound while still having that impact.
I guess that was a tough question. And I'll follow up with another tough question. um, how do you guys? Oh, the party's getting wild.
Yeah, lights. Sorry. Ooh.
So when it comes to where you guys are in the EDM community,
Sorry.
how do you guys feel, or how do you guys give? I guess gauge the change that has happened over since when you first got into the scene till now, like progression.
Sure. So I would say the I want to say I've actually witnessed the scene, as it was in 2007, I think, because I'd gone to Miami with my family, and we were there during um, electronic music conference, or I think that's what it's called, winter music conference rather, and it's always in March in Miami, and it's a huge a bunch of artists from all over the world congregate in Miami to attend conferences, share technical um, advice and things that they found, share music, and additionally, uh, that same weekend is Ultra Music Festival, which a lot of people know about. But it wasn't always what you see today with the huge stages, the pyrotechnics, all that. No, it was just as basic as your typical little concert rave you have in your city.
Warehouse, garage,
basic
after party. You know what I'm
But
saying?
all of the big DJs that are around today, David Guetta, all those guys, they were rocking huge crowds back then. You know, only thing that's changed is that you know the audience has grown bigger. More people like the music. You have social media, so people can get involved and hear music in so many different ways instead of just having to go to a huge festival just to hear that music. So I think the biggest shift for me is just the audience has grown. More people are finding ways to connect it. You hear a lot of EDM influence and pop music, as well as hip hop and all different styles. And I think in a way, it's the music itself is just EDM has found a way to reach so many different audiences and subcultures.
Yeah, it's also the advancement of electronic production in general. Because like I use Reason, which is pretty technical, but the the ability you have to create almost any sound from a digital system is incredible, and you can there's endless possibilities, endless. So the fact that you can just sit at your computer and just mess with noises, and then EDM started to become popular and started using those noises, and people are bopping to it, like they're coming out with stuff. So then it bleeds over into other genres, and now you hear it in pop, you hear it in trap, you hear it in all kinds of stuff. It's really big with the synths too. I mean, even The Weeknd is made some really big synths with, I mean, he's featured on a couple others, but
Oh
like
shit.
he's done like Starboy, like he started coming back with that 80s. And like I feel like he was hit setting the trend. I feel like he's like that. If you go listen to like Starboy, that album, and then go listen to some of like the most popular music in the 80s, you'll hear a lot of the same sounds. And it's incredible that like, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden, like the same fashions coming back,
Yeah,
and a lot of the noises bleed over and people use them as producers because
exactly.
it bops, man.
It, like he was saying, it's like good music is good music. People still listen to Michael Jackson, and if I hear Michael Jackson on a huge speaker, it's like I'm gonna be nodding my head because it's just good music. And
One of the best.
so
One of
many,
the
and,
best. No question.
almost any artist you can think of, huge pop artists, have been influenced by Michael Jackson.
Oh
but
yeah, Justin
so
Timberlake,
Justin Timberlake, you just hear his
The
influence
Weeknd.
everywhere.
It's everywhere.
And then this side point is like with production, anyone can be a producer. It's become so through programs and taking guitars, and you can just do it on your computer. That's how a lot of today's big names in EDM started in their bedrooms. You don't need giant synthesizers anymore. It's just we've come very far. That's all you gotta say.
Hip hop too. Hip hop too.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really matter what genre now. Actually, it's
No,
it's
not at
come
all.
so far.
Not at all, yeah.
We're recording in a bathroom.
Yeah,
I record
exactly.
jams in a closet. You know.
So, I guess how you guys were talking about how the experience has changed recently to like these bigger festivals and all that. I guess obviously you guys have experienced that, like cool, and the new and the fashion trends and all that. How is that festival culture? I think aside from the music, the festival culture itself has been a big influence. I would assume, right, in EDM recently for its popularity.
Yeah. You want to start?
Sure.
Go
So,
ahead.
I mean, last couple years, I didn't really participate much in like the shuffling and all that, but that's something I thought was really cool, a newer phenomenon. I mean, shuffling's always been around, but seeing this phenomenon of young people going out and dancing and
You talk like you're
really
40.
hey man, but it for me it's like I've seen a lot of things change in the short time I've been listening to music in my life. So for me, I don't know why I feel like an old head, but it just feels like it's the music industry has changed a lot, but I feel like um this festival culture is awesome because it's not you're if you listen to electronic music, you're not stigmatized, for just being a dance. It's something that everyone enjoys, everyone can do, everyone can dance to.
There's also the other side too, though. So I'll jump in here. Like I do appreciate the community, especially like you're so accepting, but it really depends on what festival you go to. Because now you could go to certain big name festivals or like Coachella, and you have a bunch of Brads and Chads like just rude and just people being rude. And so if you're a raver, y'all know it's all plur. Like if you see me somewhere, say what's up. But I just like a nice community, and I feel like sometimes um with how it's been really over sexualized and it's the party scene, it's lost some of the glamour for the music part,
True.
the passion for the big crowd, just feeling the energy. And that's what it's about for almost everybody. But there's a small group of people, who are just, and it bleeds over into social media as well, because you just have a bunch of ravers like shuffling and then trying to sell OnlyFans and whatever. Like body appreciation to everybody, but it's just like the over sexualization that's come into raving. Like it's just a little bit off-putting sometimes when it comes to like the attitude, because it's not about that for me. I love the music, man, and sometimes that happens.
That's
You'll
a
hear
valid
people
point.
complain about it real hard, but I don't think it's that bad.
It's a valid point though, because I mean, at the end of the day, what brought us together is the music.
Exactly.
It wasn't all those other scenes; it was the music.
Believe it or not, we've never even been to a festival together. We've never even been to a show together.
No.
Nah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and COVID. So
Yeah. So let's say you go to the festival, you come back inspired. How is that journey from, that restroom recording to that big festival stage, like, headlining? Like, when you get in that mind in the beginning steps, when you get on the laptop, you open it, you start mixing. What is the thought process? What is the creative flow of juice?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So I mean, I'm not really nervous when I get on start mixing. If, for example, he's gonna sit down and listen, or if I'm gonna put it on the stream, which we'll get back to doing a stream. I just think about, hey, I'm about to like share music that I love, and have fun doing it. That's only things that are in my mind. It's like I'm not worried about if people get like this song or that song. It's just I'm sharing. I'm just sharing. It's just that connection. You just develop a connection. You're sharing, and people are going to reciprocate. Maybe, that's the only way I see it. I don't know. I don't know about you.
So it depends. I have a couple of different approaches, especially because you have to draw a line for me. And producing and mixing is two different things. Usually, if I'm mixing or usually if I'm producing or writing, it starts with lyrics or an emotion or a feeling or a concept, like um, like if you were a flame of a candle, like how would you write about the beauty of the world? Something like that. I like to write really beautifully, so that's how I come from it from a producer standpoint. But if I'm coming to mix, I'm thinking about what vibe do I want to put out, like what sound do I want to like mesh together that no one's done before that might sound unique and original. I want to know what bumps, and that's what it's about for me with mixing. It's like what either sounds beautiful or what's gonna drop hits, like kind of back and forth.
That's really cool. So I guess for those listening right now and are inspired and like listen to you guys and are like, man, I feel the same way, and all that. The question is, what questions should they ask themselves to find that inspiration?
Um, a lot of my inspiration is really just the feelings, the really the emotions, the places I was when I heard certain songs. I always have those connections. I hear a certain song, an older song. I remember, where I was when I was listening to it, on repeat all the time. And different times in my life. It's that emotional connection to the music. If you have an emotional connection to it, whether it's hype or if it's just sad, it's that emotional connection is super important. If you don't feel anything, are you really enjoying it? That's how I see it. But you?
I don't know. It's really a tough question for me because inspiration comes from everywhere, but also nowhere. Um, I feel like you have to tap into a creative side depending on if you're trying to write. But for like mixing, you can get inspiration from other DJs. Like if you're just trying to get into the scene and you want to practice with it, just kind of learn software and play what you like. And then once you start playing what you like, you'll see that it connects to other stuff and that connects to other stuff and it starts vibing for you. And I think that's where kind of inspiration gets rolling.
So, unfortunately, entertainment is not, well, it's always had a dark side, and it's the business side for the most part. You know, talent, I think raw talent will always, outshine and, grow at some point. I guess What's y'all's opinions or thoughts that you have when it comes to the business side of EDM scene, especially right now, where it's very popular, and like big money people, big sharks are crazy to dig into those to their get their share of the pie. When it comes to maybe like you know yeah, they're going for festivals, but working with small artists like you, like what are those bumps that you guys unfortunately have to run through? So it's
Well, we're relatively new, but I think
I think I probably can speak more on this side
yeah, yeah,
from my
sure.
education and my dealings. So I DJ'd for a while in like the wedding scene, which really isn't that tough to get into. You know, you just play the same songs and classics, and then whatever the family is into. But before that, I've been trying to produce and write since I was like 10 years old. So I've had friends in the scene. I have a good friend who flew out to LA. I have another friend who I've worked with before and is doing stuff along the West Coast right now. But it doesn't matter what aspect of music, there is people out there, or even life actually, like people will take advantage, especially in the music business, when you're just trying to get your product out there. So if someone shows interest and he looks like he knows what he's saying, or she looks like she knows what she's saying, people can take the bait. And you can see even away a lot of the ways like copyright laws are written and things that just don't benefit the artists themselves, and that's why the independent artists have become so popular recently. One of the biggest ones I can think of is G-Eazy, who did everything on his own. I think the Weeknd's done a good portion of it, but he definitely signed to some big labels at some point. I don't know all of the business side for that, but yeah, it's a shame. But you have to educate yourself. There's no excuse anymore because the internet has everything you need to know. You want to reach out to people and network, and just be really careful. You know.
I think one of the craziest facts I learned was that like technically like three labels own like 80% of the music produced in the world or something like fact like that.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. There was a big four, and I think after, and this is after I've taken some music education classes, including music business. There was a big four, and I think they conglomerated, and it is three now. I can't remember. I'm not too worried about getting like that kind of exposure right now. We're just kind of doing it for fun and for ourselves, and whatever happens happens, especially right now because there's plenty of musicians and producers and DJs that have established themselves and they can't even work right now because of COVID. So we hope that they get the monetary income that they need, and we're just gonna do it for fun for now.
I guess like you guys are having fun right now, and what point would you say is when you kind of have to make the big boy move? Okay, hey, I need the studio, the legit studio. I can't work off I work off a laptop. I just need a $3,000 laptop. I can't work off the base model Mac.
You can.
Yeah, it,
How bad do you want it? That's really what it is in the music business. How
it
bad do you
is.
want it?
You work hard to get the result that you want, and if you're still not satisfied, it's never ending for artists. Especially bigger artists. You think that all the artists are just satisfied, what they're doing. It's like if they were, they have their one big hit and they peace out. But a lot of people, they stick at it for different reasons, of course. But some people, they really enjoy what they do, and they like you know trying to reach whatever goal they have. But I think that when that time comes, it'll just be like, well, I think there comes a time where you're getting invited to play bigger and bigger gigs, and I think at that point you start different people reach out to you with different opportunities, and it's really a personal decision. We don't know how far this is gonna go, but we're just trying to have fun along the way, because if you're not having fun, then it's not worth it. So we really want to try and just you know have fun. That's what
Yeah.
that's what it's all about. It's just fun.
And get better too.
Is, yeah.
I think I want to develop more of a sound and a style for us before we think about even making a big boy move. Because if I wanted to, and I feel like we had content, there's definitely people I could reach out to. There's been an artist, shout out Saranda. Go look at her IG. She's been singing forever. One of the most beautiful voices. I worked with her before, and I didn't put out the track because I hated it. And this is something that I struggle with, and why I haven't put it out anything. It's just an insecurity I have with my own music, and it's something I fought with. I think that's why I feel a lot easier being a DJ, because it's not my own written stuff. But anyway, like I said, I think if we had that kind of style and sound and we're ready, I'll make some calls. And if you invite us to play somewhere, like, we're not to say no.
We have fun. We love doing it.
If you're not telling us what to play, most likely we're gonna accept it. It depends. Maybe we will play what you want to.
If you get lucky, you make a request, you might get lucky. But yeah, no promises.
Yeah.
You said a key word right there, content. You know, I feel like nowadays you can't just be a musician. You need to be putting out content out. You need to interact with the audiences. So what is y'all's approach, and what do you guys think in a general, like, EDM artists should probably be doing what you've seen as and seen is cool certain person did?
I mean, more recently with the huge uptick in artists doing live streams, from their houses or studios, for their fans, and just having that intimate setting, and while the live stream, maybe chatting with them on the side. It's at the end of the day, I mean, you're making music, you enjoy it, the people enjoy it, you have that I don't know the word for it, the that exchange. And it's I feel like just that interaction is like so key, because like they're not just your fans. It's like, your friend. You could be anyone could be your friend. Huge artist is like, just because he's your huge artist doesn't make him like a god or something. It's like we both love the music. That's what brings people together.
I think as far as like what your question was, it's kind of branding, and it depends on what type of artist you are. You have guys like BTSM who, show up in suits and have this whole what's that, cyberpunk
Yeah.
feel, and it's awesome. It's on brand. And then you have Jaws, the shark, baby shark, and all that kind of theme stuff. So it's about sticking on brand. You go look at 30 Clips, and he kind of is coming out with these themes for like what is the contrast, what overlaps, and all this kind of stuff. So it's really about, and then you have awesome guys like Ghastly who don't really have a brand. They just care about being a really positive dude and just them being themselves and drop some bass.
Yeah.
So I think as long as you know what you're going for and you're authentic about it, like that's really what it's about. Because people will know if you're not authentic, man.
It gives insight into like who that artist is, or group is. That's what it's all about.
What's crazy is that, like, content and like new channels that people have nowadays, you're able to reach audiences that are outside, like, outside the state, outside the countries sometimes. Then, like, I guess when it comes to that, do you guys have any like international influence or international
That's
hopes?
Mr. International right there.
Well, I visit Mexico pretty often, and in Guadalajara specifically, they have a really huge underground scene. Um, you wouldn't expect it, but when I was looking for shows and clubs to go to, I found that they had some pretty big bookings, that you wouldn't expect. But the demand was there, and when you go out to these clubs and shows, it would be packed, and people were there for the music. They weren't just sitting around drinking. They're over on the dance floor, just having a blast. I hadn't experienced that, on that level, here stateside. But the interest is huge. Outside the states, it may not look like it here, but you never know how big is depending on what you make. There's an audience for you somewhere.
I guess a lot of people want to go to Europe, and Europe is like the place to be when it comes to electronic music. Is, is there any hope that you guys like dream about going to specific spots? That's not necessarily feasible, but hey, I've heard the scene in this particular country is pretty dope, and you guys want to go?
I mean, we both love to travel, but
Yeah.
you can start off with this.
I think if the opportunity ever presents itself, we would definitely
Take it in a heartbeat.
jump at it.
Heartbeat. It doesn't matter what scene in Europe, man. But there's a lot of good ones for sure. I know Germany's supposed to have a really good EDM scene.
Europe,
of course, Amsterdam.
Amsterdam, yeah.
Yeah, like you already know.
Dutch people love EDM. You know that. You know that, but
I don't know any Dutch people, so I can't say.
But I mean, no, it doesn't have to be a guaranteed success. It's just like opportunity. It's all about, it's fun. Give it a try. But we're not nowhere near that yet. But if that opportunity ever presents itself, we would love to try
for sure.
So opportunities presenting themselves. I guess what could be After Party's approach when it comes to ability to elaborate with, let's say, someone else who's not working out, and starting up, or they're like halfway, and they're like, you guys want to put a track out together. I guess what would be like, okay, we need to think about this and see if this works out for
I think the first step for us would be figuring out what kind of song we want to put out. So like, because I work with other people on the side as well for just production and mixing. I'm a mixing engineer, so I can tweak a lot of sounds to layer over each other within a song. So that's a little bit different than actually producing and writing. So we would have to figure out, like, what do we want to do? Do we want to come out with like a house thumper? Do we want more like a tropical house vibe? Or do we want something chill, laid back? We want to go real heavy and drop something nasty and dubstep. It just depends.
And just it's brainstorming. You just sit around together, share ideas, and things happen. Just like the after party happened. Things will work themselves out. Or you may have just a concept for a song. Maybe not a title, but it's a concept, general concept.
Yeah,
and the whole genesis of making a song. It's a long road. It's a journey. Every time I'm sure he knows.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I've made several different artist profiles and like came up with different themes. I have stacks and stacks and songs and songs recorded for like themes and what's this album about and what's this about. So it really depends. If I had to like say where I want to go with this, and we haven't even discussed it, so like live content right here. I would, and chain smoker haters don't come at me or nothing, but like if you had a way edgier chain smokers, like Zoo, like if you had Zoo was a twin, I think that would be cool. Like a very dark, sexy, poppy sound would be really bouncy, really wavy synths. Maybe like some Heaven Trap, like dark Heaven Trap would be really tight to come out with, especially because it's not super huge yet. There definitely are some big artists that do produce Heaven Trap, but it's kind of a subgenre.
It's like I mentioned earlier. Overall, it's just a vibe we're going for. So you listen to when we mix together. We're just trying to find that groove. Whether it's dark or maybe like sexy, but we tend to gravitate towards that, spectrum, so.
We always end up with something like semi like dark and beautiful. So I just talked about how EDM's over sexualized, but I think sex is like so beautiful. So like, uh, people hate. It's just like don't be rude about it. I'm just very like open, and
Yeah.
in general, I just think love, beauty, sex. Maybe I'm a bohemian, whatever you want, man. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you guys work on a lot of tracks like X, and you mentioned that a little bit earlier, how you just had the project going, scrapped it. What is the thought process right there? What is that you work so hard because you dedicate yourself to something, you produce a track, and at the end you just not go with it. And I've learned that a lot of artists have written all these songs, and I'm not putting any of them out. Like,
So like and you'll see artists who like really aren't artists, to be honest, that say they put out a bunch of tracks but they don't, and those guys, like you'll see them fade out real quick. Me, you can go back and look at the receipts, to be honest, because I have like 8 SoundClouds and then I've worked with this person and that person here and there. So it just depends, but for me it's really just a conglomeration of frustration, and like at the moment you're kind of like, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Let's just scrap it. And that's why, like, when you're becoming a producer or a writer or whatever it may be, for making your own creations, they say just keep going, just keep making them, keep learning, keep getting better. The other thing is, like, it's not my full time priority. Um, when I quit music business, it's because I realized it's really hard to get paid unless you want to be famous, and it's really hard to be famous anyway, and then you have a bunch of people in your business. So I never really wanted to go that route or even try. So I changed majors and I was like, I'll just make it a hobby. And I haven't had enough time to fully develop everything I've wanted to. I've gotten like so close, and I feel like I'm 60% there and then 70% there. And then it's just like, this didn't come together. Fuck it, I'm on to the next thing. And then I keep the lyrics and the idea and the concept, and I just scrap all the production. So in turn, it's just like on to the next phase, on to the next move. And it sucks because sometimes there has been times where like I should have kept that. I might have been able to flip a sample out of it or something, but it is what it is.
when it comes, you scrap the idea, and you get frustrated. When it comes to clearing the mind, what does that do to clear his mind?
I mean, what state is he in? So,
Well, you just scratch the track that you were thinking of.
well, I was riding a lot in Oregon, not too long ago. I took a little trip along the West Coast just to kind of like decompress, especially with how heavy everything's been.
Yeah.
So I just kind of got out there, wanted to see some beautiful nature, saw some waterfalls, and waterfalls are my favorite geological structure. So I was really excited. Weird fact, I know. But I was out there riding in Oregon, and it's legal, so THC and just relaxing nature, go for a hike. And that's kind of what I did to decompress for that. uh, that's usually, other than that, it's kind of just like a decompression where you you listen to a lot of things that inspire you to get back into it, and you start looking at what made you want to write anyway. So that's kind of how I rewind and refocus. Just depends.
Like weird stuff. I know. Artists have some weird, like, they're superstitious about certain things, and they're like about it. They're like just have some weird practices. Do you guys have any like weird like secrets? Like, hey, this is not really normal, but I like to do this to help myself get inspired, or like when I work on music, I like to do this. Like, no green M&Ms in my sight kind of deal.
Let's see.
Well,
I don't know if we have any quirks like that.
I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary, but I mean, my day-to-day life, let's say if maybe I'm just in a mental fog just about things in general, I listen to music. Music has always been like an escape, even just mentally. maybe I'm in a bad place or just had like a rough week or something. I listen to some music, and the music takes you places, in your mind, and sometimes I'll go out or go for a walk or just go for a drive, just listen to music, and that's all that matters at that moment. It's just me and music, and whatever just comes to mind when I'm listening to it, or places that come to mind. That's just the way I see music. um I I would say if there's anything out of the ordinary that I do with music, it's like I try to envision like if I was like performing that track,
The dream.
Yeah, the dream, that's what people dream about.
Yeah, man. If you don't chase your dreams, they'll become your nightmares, man.
Yeah.
So I mean, you gotta claim what you want. So
Right.
I mean, that's it. And I've been there, like not in front of huge festival crowds or anything, but I mean, I've had bands and
Right.
I've been in different genres of music before DJing, and sometimes when you're playing stuff and there's a big crowd out there, it feels really good that everyone's watching you kind of jamming, like
Right.
you're making them feel something that you felt, and
Yeah.
that means they are reacting in a way that is connecting.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's special about music performances.
I remember hearing one time the phrase, a performer's hell is an empty theater, and that's just something that always resonated in my head when it comes to performers. You really have to support and stuff. So I guess when it comes to the support, how do you guys like? I, I guess there's probably not that much of a pushback when you break it to your family, you break it to your friends, like, hey, listen to my track.
Hey, check out my mixtape.
Check out my mixtape.
Hey, I don't want to be that guy commenting on IG, but check out my mixtape.
Hey.
Nah, I don't do that. I've never done that, and that's probably why nobody knows my music. But I don't really care that much. If someone wants to listen to my music, honestly, they'll ask me, and they know I create. I got a few friends that listen to my tracks, or I'll send them beats, and we'll like go back and forth because it's really beautiful when there's so many people out there that make music and y'all can connect that way, especially right now when you can't hang out in person a lot. The world's crazy, and you can just send each other files and just be like, hey, what do you think of this? And they respond, and it's cool. So that's what it is for
Jason,
me.
do you bust into someone's DMs and tell you, listen to my track?
No, but I mean, if let's say I find something I really like, and I just feel like it's just too good not to share, and I figure out, who would like at least tolerate it, and then say, hey, listen to this, just listen to it. You don't have to tell me what you think, just listen to it. But I think let's see, if I ever produce something, I mean, I might just put it out there, I might send it to my parents, this is a gag, but and maybe they'll love it, who knows? But personally, no, I wouldn't.
Not yet. I mean, we'll attack it at a different way if it ends up being that serious, but that's not honestly how you make it. If you do,
Right.
The way you make it is like getting your name out there, networking, and taking opportunities. For example, this podcast. I mean, once your audience sees us, they may go check us out. We have a stream on tonight, and usually, like, we're probably gonna start streaming every 1 to 2 weeks or so. So it just depends what you're going for, but either way, no matter what your goal is, you have to keep doing it.
Yeah, believe me, I understand the whole listen to this, listen to my podcast to my friends, and they're like,
Yeah, I know. I have your IG. What's that IG I added a while back?
My first podcast, the failed one. Yeah. To my audience, this is really my second attempt at a podcast. You looks like,
Hey, it's good.
Thanks. I wouldn't. This. I guess this wouldn't be a full DJ conversation if we didn't bring the electronic part to electronic music. And you mentioned file sharing, and that. Let's talk software and equipment. Like, what is your must have? What you wish you had, and how you work that.
So I mean, we can start with. I mean, obviously we have a wish list. We both have a wish list, you know.
Yeah.
But we found a way to make it work for what we're doing. So what we have two controllers. Each of us have our own controllers, our own computers. And we both have the same exact controllers. We're in the same program, so
We're both running record box off of Pioneer DDJs for now. Once we feel like we outgrow those, we'll step up to the XDJs or the CDJs when we're ready. Because that's what they use in most clubs and festivals anyway. And I have played on them before. It's just you don't really need that for what we're doing right now. And then when it comes to producing and writing, like I said earlier, I use Reason is my DAW, and its options are limitless. Again, I also have a couple guitars. One of my favorites is an Epiphone. I have an Akai MIDI that I use. One of my dream pieces of equipment right now. It's not even that big of a dream, but when you're balling on a budget, it's a 6-piece padded electronic drum kit, and it's been coming out. The first time I saw it was actually Connor Maynard. Like, if you ever got into covers on YouTube and stuff, I would watch covers because like different people would do things in different styles, and it was cool. He would use that on his covers, and it added an entirely different element. And I researched it, I learned it, I've played on one, and I want one so bad. So if anyone's gonna get me a Christmas present, yeah,
please.
But because it works really well live too. And I mean, if we do, I mean, I have a solo project as well that I'm working on, and when I go like live and perform, I don't want to just DJ. There's plenty of DJs out there that are really, really, really top of the line A-class DJs, and you've never heard their name. And it's because they're not producers. So you'll hear them say like producer DJ or DJ. Like, it just depends. But like Martin Garrix and like Illenium, all the big names right now, David Guetta, Tiesto, they usually do more than just DJ. So I want to perform. I don't want to just mix. If it goes that big.
Yeah, I guess like surrounding yourself with the correct people is very important. So when it comes to the equipment and also creating the scene and all that, I remember, Alexander, you mentioned something called a VJ. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh yeah, so I have a friend who I would love to get into this, and we're currently researching it. But a VJ is basically a videographer DJ, and what they do is all those amazing visuals. And this is a huge part of DJs performing right now too. You go look at Excision or Wooly or Illenium again, all the big names. They have crazy visuals on live streams. If you don't have visuals, yeah, you're pretty much just a bedroom DJ, which is awesome if you're being honest. But honestly though, like the visuals, like a Subtronics, his are pretty crazy as well. There's a lot of good like visuals out there, and what they do, depending on their technique or what software they're using, is they time the lighting, visuals, and everything they've created, whatever the graphics are. I know Maddion had a crazy like stream. I think it was for Virtual Sky. But the colors that was morphing and the times of the beats, and that's what kind of makes the performance a huge percentage of it, at least.
That's really cool, and that ties into the experience you want your audience to have. I guess this will be one of my last questions to you guys. What do you hope your audience experiences when they listen to your music?
An orgasm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, goosebumps, or dancing. It doesn't matter, I just want people to walk away and be like, damn, I want to do that again. I want to go, like, I want to listen to that again. I want to come back. I want to do that. Just whatever happened, do it again,
I want you to feel absolutely amazing.
Blown away, because when we're doing this, we're putting so much energy and passion into it, when we're playing the music, we're not just, playing it and just waiting for you around. We're playing it, we're enjoying it at the same time as other
we're partying. We're partying with you.
It's the after party, man.
After party, after party, ladies and gentlemen. Jason, Alexander, where they can catch you guys?
We just started creating all our platforms, so you can catch us at aftr.prtyy at IG, and that has links to our Twitch, as which where we do most of our stuff right now, and at our IG. That's where you can keep up with us.
That's how the cool kids spell after party. After party, underground sensation, up and coming artist. Check them out for sure on IG, on Twitch. If you want to check this episode out, thank you for listening. This episode is available on all major podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, as well as a video version of this will be available on YouTube with other links to After Party, so you guys can come out. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Noe, and this has been After Party's Way. Thank you.